A very good morning to everyone. I'm Dr. Siba Barkataki, Research Consultant at Maritime History Society, Mumbai. On behalf of Team MHS, I would like to welcome you all to our Naval Uprising Academic Seminar entitled Naval Uprising 1946 Scan and Significance, organized in collaboration with the Department of Civics and Politics, University of Mumbai. Before we formally begin, let me share a few house rules that shall ensure smooth proceedings and give you a better experience. Please use the comments box to drop your questions, observations, and comments. The moderator of the session in charge will collect the same from there. If you get disconnected from the session, you can join back using the link that you have received in your emails. Link for every session will be updated 15 minutes prior on the seminar page. With that, I would like to now invite the patron MHS, Vice Admiral A.R. Karve, retired, to officially inaugurate the seminar with an inaugural address. Vice Admiral A.R. Karve, retired, was commissioned into the Indian Navy on 1st of July 1980 and retired after 38 years of distinguished naval service in July 2018 as the Flag Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Southern Naval Command. In a range of operational, staff, and command assignments, Admiral and anti-submarine warfare specialist had the honor to be both the commissioning crew of INS Virat and its commanding officer in the rank of captain. Admiral Karve has held prestigious positions in the flag ranks as steering Indian naval operations, Chief of Personnel and Chief of Staff at Western Naval Command. He has been closely associated as a paper presenter, supporter, and trustee of the Maritime History Society on many occasions. He is an avid reader and takes keen interest in maritime strategy and heritage. He is pursuing a PhD from the University of Mumbai and became the patron of MHS in April last year. Over to you, sir.
Greetings to one and all. It is with great pleasure that I appear before you to inaugurate this seminar on the Naval Uprising of 1946, organized by the Maritime History Society. MHS has been relentlessly promoting Indian maritime consciousness through its outreach in a variety of ways. Even during the pandemic, MHS quickly improvised and did a commendable job of making its presence felt in the digital space. MHS has hosted and participated in seminars and released informative videos on YouTube. I would like to congratulate Director MHS and his team for conceptualizing and formulating yet another engaging seminar that captures all aspects of the 1946 Naval Uprising. When the Naval Uprising Seminar was being conceptualized by MHS, the primary objective was to commemorate without glorifying. As a Navy, one can never be comfortable with uprising incidents such as this. However, 75 years ago, the setting during the uprising was quite different. Immediately after World War II, there was growing discontentment in Bombay. Political parties pressed the British to quit India. As would be expected, Indian officers and ratings in the Navy had nationalistic feelings. The main trigger of the uprising was discrimination of the Indian ratings in naval units. Also, many Indian reserve officers felt discriminated against, as very few were offered permanent commission after the war. During the war, the Royal Navy had expanded rapidly. Campaigns were conducted across the globe, and Indian soldiers were made to believe that the war was for restoring democracy and freedom. They were out there on the front, sincerely engaged in restoring democracy and freedom for other countries, while their own country remained under colonial rule. This was perhaps one of the triggers of the uprising. Besides this, there were complaints about poor quality of food and unhygienic living conditions at the demobilization centers. Demobilization was happening rapidly, and those who had faithfully served the colonial power were now being shown the door. Slowly but steadily, the numbers being demobilized grew to nearly 940 officers and 9,000 ratings. A morale section was created in naval headquarters that called for regular morale reports from the commanding officers of all ships and naval establishments. Because of the lack of connect between British and Indian officers, as well as between British senior and Indian junior ratings, these reports could not or did not capture the true picture of the emerging situation. The leadership failed to create a positive work environment, and in this particular case, the post-war fatigue was another factor. The naval uprising had local civilian support, and Bombay residents too joined in the protests. The uprising was a catalyst in India's independence movement and was a stark reminder to the British that they were slowly losing their grip over India. This seminar explores lesser known viewpoints of the uprising as well. The naval uprising has etched a special place in the artistic and literary landscape. Songs, poems, and plays of the time represent the cultural aspects of the naval uprising. More recently, movies and artistic installations have reimagined the historical and political scenario of that time and have shone the light on the naval uprising. The uprising has little recall memory as it eluded our textbooks for many years. In fact, the media played an important role not only in bringing the uprising to the masses, but also in documenting it and creating first-hand record of the situation. This live reporting through newspapers, radios, and other means, both in India and abroad, especially in England, played a key role in shaping the uprising. The endeavors of Maritime History Society, not only in hosting this seminar, but all that they have done so far has resulted in production of many publications and books, scholarly articles, and conduct of seminars. All this requires considerable effort and resources. Indian maritime history deserves greater attention if we are to develop a comprehensive maritime consciousness in India. I take this opportunity to implore all participants and viewers to partner with Maritime History Society and support them to achieve their goals and raise awareness of India's maritime legacy throughout India and abroad. Do visit the online content of MHS and pass on the learnings to a wider audience. I look forward to fruitful discussions, questions, and comments during the seminar. MHS as a society must not only meet, but also exceed the Golden Jubilee goals. I thank the scholars and young researchers for taking time out to integrate their thoughts and present them to the audience. Let us participate with full vigor in this seminar. My best wishes for its success. Thank you. Jai Hind. Samna Varuna.
Thank you, sir, for the inaugural address. I would now like to invite Professor Uttara Sahasrabuddhe to kindly deliver the thematic address. Professor Sahasrabuddhe is Professor of International Relations and is currently head of the Department of Civics and Politics in the University of Mumbai. She is an honorary visiting professor of the Naval War College in Goa and is an academic council member of the Maritime History Society. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Siba. A warm good morning to all the participants and viewers and listeners. Respected patron of the Maritime History Society, Vice Admiral Karve, Director MHS Commodore Johnson, Team MHS, and participants of the seminar, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to deliver the thematic address of the seminar on the Naval Uprising 1946, jointly organized by the Maritime History Society and the University Department of Civics and Politics, Mumbai University. And I wish to thank Commodore Johnson at the outset for this opportunity. I'm primarily a student of political science and international relations and not a historian. Hence, my reflections on the event will be more from that perspective. Over the next 2 decades, students, researchers, and experts will discuss in detail the event and its implications for India's history and the present. The naval uprising, or the naval mutiny, as it was called by the British, began on 18 February 1946 and ended on 25-26 February 1946. It began in Bombay and spread across several cities of India like Madras, Calcutta, Cochin, Vizag, Jamnagar, New Delhi, and so on. It also spread to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Within the small span of 8 days, the event added to the anxiety of the British rulers as joined the series of other events which the British government perceived as those that shook the foundation of the empire in India. It is believed to have hastened the exit of the British from India. Clement Attlee, the former British Prime Minister, who began and completed the process of transfer of power from the British government to the Indians, was on a tour of India in 1956. He met with the then governor of West Bengal, Justice P.V. Chakraborty, during his tour. During their conversation, Attlee, who said that the impact of the Quit India movement on the British decision to transfer power to the Indians was minimal, actually listed the events that hastened the British decision to leave India. Justice Chakraborty wrote in a letter in 1976, quoted in an article in Swaraj magazine in 2016, that these events included the revolt of the Indian National Army of Subhash Chandra Bose and the Royal Indian Naval Mutiny. These 2 events, coupled with the revolts in the Royal Indian Air Force and the British Indian Army, convinced the British government that it was not possible to rule India anymore if the armed forces began turning against them. There is a memorial as well as a museum dedicated to the naval uprising of 1946 in Kulaba, Mumbai. Since 2016, articles on the uprising have appeared in the press in the address given by the Admiral Karve and read out on his behalf by Commodore Johnson. There is a mention of this. In publications ranging from Swaraj magazine to The Wire, and from The Scroll to the Economic Times and Hindustan Times Mint, articles on uprising have appeared. The Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya in Mumbai had organized an exhibition titled Meaning of Failed Actions, which was an unusual collaboration between artist Vivan Sundaram and cultural theorist Ashish Rajadhyaksha in April 2017. And Dr. Valentina Vitali, professor of film studies at the University of East London, had written an analytical essay on this exhibition. John Mayer of the University of Texas had written an extensive article interpreting the event in the December 2016 issue of the Journal of Imperial and Commonwealth History. T.P. Jena had published a paper in the Proceedings of the Indian History Congress a decade earlier in 1996. Historian and professor of history in Delhi University, Anirudh Deshpande has written a book on the uprising titled Hope and Despair, Mutiny, Rebellion, and Death in India, 1946. The book was published in the year 2016, and Director MHS Commodore Johnson had written a review of the book in Economic and Political Weekly. If a young student undertakes a literature survey of publications on the 1946 naval uprising, he or she is likely to find a treasure of writings. Yet, surprisingly, and as brought out in his address by Admiral Karve, the event seems to have little place in the public memory of common Indians. It may be possible to find the reasons for the same in the historiography of the naval uprising of 1946. For the beginners and young students, historiography is a study of methods of historians in developing history as an academic discipline. Mere evidence, whether documentary or archaeological, is not history. History has a story in itself. It is constructed by connecting the dots found in the evidence into lines and shapes. Indeed, history is those lines and shapes rather than the evidential dots. In that sense, writing history is a politics of sorts. In order to understand the reason why the naval uprising does not find prominent place in the public memory, looking at the reactions to the event by the political actors of that time could be quite instructive. So let me do that. The naval uprising as such was rather leaderless, in the sense that no important political leader of that time had organized it, nor anybody had led it. As it came on the eve of the visit of the cabinet mission to India, leaders of both the Indian National Congress and the Indian Union Muslim League were not very comfortable with the uprising. Gandhi, in fact, had condemned the event as unholy violence and was agitated at its leaderless character. Patel and Jinnah both requested the ratings to call off the strike and offered to ensure minimum punishment. The only leader of the Congress who supported the uprising was Aruna Asaf Ali. The only political party of the time that supported the uprising was the Communist Party of India. In fact, the CPI went on to organize a workers' strike in support of the uprising through its labor unions in Bombay. These unfolding events of that time lead us to many questions. And let me right away ask those questions. Pose these questions before you. First of all, was it a coincidence that the only Congress leader who did not bother the leaderless nature of the uprising and went on to support it was a woman? Secondly, was the Communist Party of India trying to make up for the flip-flops it did during the Second World War, that is, changing its positions in sync with the positions of the Soviet Union on the war? Thirdly, was the United States' perception of the uprising as a part of the just emerging Cold War justified? Srinath Raghavan, historian of contemporary Indian history, has explained how the US was looking at the uprising in his article in Hindustan Times Mint, written in April 2017. John Mayer, in his article mentioned earlier, which I have mentioned earlier, has argued that the attitude of the leaders like Patel had a long time benefit, and that was to secure civilian supremacy over the armed forces once India became independent. Is this true? Was the Congress leadership so foresighted? Or they were merely saving the ongoing talks for the transfer of power? I have raised questions without giving answers to them. I don't intend to give any answers because these questions can tell us a different story of the naval uprising of 1946. To explore these and many more such questions about the uprising in the 75th anniversary of the event could be a fitting commemoration of the event. A project on the review of literature on the uprising could be a good beginning, and perhaps the Maritime History Society can consider undertaking one. I have raised these questions and I'm going to stop without answering them simply because I think perhaps in next 2 days, some people would try to address them and answer at least some of them. And it is also perhaps a good enough agenda to explore the implications of the event. And probably when it comes to the centenary of this particular event, 25 years down the line, these questions would have had some answers at least. Thank you for your patient hearing. It was a privilege to address. Thank you, MHS. Thank you, Commodore Johnson.
Thank you, ma'am, for this very thought-provoking thematic address. I would now like to invite Commodore Odekul Johnson, Director and Head of Research at the Maritime History Society, to kindly wrap up the inaugural session. Commodore Odekul Johnson has been a maritime professional for 38 years and is presently the Director at Maritime History Society. He is an acknowledged speaker, researcher, and resource person in maritime studies. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Siba. And if I will ask the backend team to request Dr. Uttara to stay on, I'm going to capture some of the things and I will do that in a minute, but we have a little time in hand. So Dr. Uttara, I'm going to let you come up on stage afresh. And we have a special session at 12:20 today, which is going to examine literature, art, culture, and narratives. And we're going to talk more from some of the things that you talked about. And I'm beginning with that last bit that you said is, we are definitely right. In the run-up to this seminar, when I was looking at a bibliography compiled by Mr. Ayal Punjabi, our librator, and I was amazed at many of the content I have missed reading out in the last 5 years. This is despite actually having a position just in close proximity. So we'll be talking some of it in the last session of the day. But I certainly agree with you purely from a multidisciplinary literature process. There is a great merit in just undertaking a review of literature from a 2021 perspective of an incident that was 75 years ago. And I'm very glad you mentioned historiography. I know many speakers who just use the word without actually understanding. So thank you from a very scholarly perspective to put that across. So even as I'm just reflecting some of the things that you mentioned to us is, people are aware of historical narratives for a event in history, but we often fail to realize that, and I'm going to bring up just warning in, maybe Dr. Siba also was a research consultant in a minute. People fail to realize that we have many perspectives. You talked of the political environment, obviously, from your background, and that's what I've had the benefit to look. And you very certainly brought nostalgia when you mentioned Vivan Sundaram and Ashish Rajadaksha. And in the CSMVS, they had put this whole art installation, A Forgotten Insurrection. The collections were amazing. We will talk briefly in the last session of Sahir Ludhianvi's poem and Utpal Dutt's commentaries. So there are always many dimensions of any event. And it's definitely worth inquiry. And before I actually close, would you want to just reflect a couple of ways we can probably do it? And I'll be very happy to announce it right before we end the seminar also, not just this session. What are some of the ways we can take this forward in a multidisciplinary study with this collaboration that is going on? I know I'm just prepared, but I just thought for the audience also it will be a trigger. What are some thoughts you would have to take this forward, in addition to all the content that will happen in 2 days?
Yes, I mean, I did speak about the literature review, but in addition to that, the MHS can take up certain projects like where you have international relations scholars and history students put together to work on. Admiral Karve's address mentions the international background during which this particular ratings uprising actually took place. We can explore the way the Royal Indian Navy participated in the Second World War, the role that they played in places like Sicily, which is better known. But I'm not sure if that actually happened. But the Royal Indian Navy's participation in the war in Southeast Asia, how they informed the ratings there, and to what extent their attitude towards the national movement was guided by their experiences abroad. That could be one of the projects that can be, and these are short-term projects. Like you can ask the researchers to complete these in say 2 or 3 months time, and that can be done. Also interesting would be the Srinath Raghavan angle on it, in the sense that how the US and the Soviet Union were looking at this uprising at the very beginning, because 1946 is the time is when the Cold War was just beginning to take shape. Perhaps George Kennan's the famous telegram had just reached Dean Achison's table. So how are they looking at this whole episode? Another project, and I realized while doing some very limited, I don't really claim to have made a great literature survey for this particular address, but the very limited literature survey has made me realize that the British archives might be having excellent material available on this, and much of it probably is also available online. So if some such project can be undertaken, and encouraging young researchers to carry it forward by looking at it, from the imperial perspective, the perspective of the political parties in India, and so on and so forth.
So thank you for highlighting that, and I'm going to bring Dr. Siba up also, though we are going to have a conversation. You mentioned Anirudh Deshpande's book, Hope Amidst Despair, and what a lot of people don't realize is it's a work that was built up from his MPhil work, from his MPhil dissertation. And then he went on to spend a lot of time with content at the National Archives. And the other person is Pramod Kapoor of Rowley Books. And the best part is, originally, the MHS was to commission a project on the RIN to be done by Commodore Shrikant Kesnur. And I will again talk about that. So we, very interestingly, tomorrow's first session, we'll have Shrikant Kesnur, Anirudh Deshpande and Pramod Kapoor in conversation. I would really encourage any of the participants who are hearing to not to miss that, because each of them brings the scholarly background of a huge literature survey. Anirudh has been working for many decades on it. Pramod Kapoor has taken 2 years more than his original scheduled time to put the book. Draft is ready. We were hoping it could be released today, but that will be another couple of months. So why I brought, because this is a place where scholarship, not just as an activity of writing, but scholarship to examine multiple narratives, multiple perspectives. And I'm sure when we do a wrap up in the valedictory, by the time Dr. Preeta Nilesh comes in, we will have clarity and we'll be very happy to do this collaboratively. I think we have case to write articles, cases to have a monograph. We have a maritime mosaic planned. We can always add a monograph in that. And someone can actually go ahead and do a full book project on a 2021 narrative or a 2022 narrative of this very critical event. So I thought that was a very fitting tribute to the entire thing. I've got this. I'll expect my backend team to take screenshots. This is our equivalent of a photograph of the seminar in an online mode. So I trust that is being taken. Dr. Siba, I'm going to hand over to you and for the closing part of this. But to everyone else, we are finishing a little early. We will start the next session at 11, but more details. Thank you, Dr. Utra. So back to you, Dr. Siba.
Thank you, Commodore Johnson and Professor Sahasrabuddhe. And I, in fact, agree with you. A study also about the subaltern narratives that exist today in the post-colonial world on the naval uprising that contests with the colonial records will be also very interesting perspective. So thank you, everyone. We will now break for 15 minutes. The link for the upcoming thematic session 1 will be available on the seminar webpage. The next session will be moderated by Denard D'Souza, Research Associate at MHS.